Alright, I guess I'm streaming now. Okay, so I'm going to continue where I left off with this animation from yesterday. I'm animating this character. Let's see if I can find him here. This character here. This is the train fireman character. And we have him walking into the scene. Sort of ended off with him coming in from around here. Kind of see what that looks like. I think the first thing I'm going to do is just continue to fix this thing, because it just looks a little wonky when it comes around the edge there. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to mask it out. This may not be the best practice. I actually don't know. But I think this will work for my purposes. So I'm just going to come around the edge. I'll just show you what I did here. I'm selecting this object. So there's two settings here. This is to create another shape, which we don't want. If you click this with like the little alpha channel, you can select a shape and you can just put a mask on it, which is really convenient. I guess I don't even need to be that accurate since it's behind this thing. Press M, subtract. I'm gonna just keyframe this and go back one. Okay. I'm gonna go forward. Let's see. I think the best way to do this might be to actually keyframe the path. So if I go Control F, type in path, it'll search here. And I can grab onto, let's see, if I just select one of those points. Okay, I can keyframe this and just press Alt, arrow forward. I'm going to adjust the way this looks. It's okay because I keyframed it, so I can always go back to how it looked before if necessary. So that looks pretty good. I think I might as well, let's see, go one frame back. I'm just pressing Control left and right arrow to just go forward and back. So let's see. Okay, good. Now I'll do it again here. I'm going to drag this keyframe forward just a little bit. And I'm just going to have it start coming out. I think like that. It looks a little rough around the edges there. Maybe I'll just smooth it out a little bit. If I press Control Shift H, I can get rid of the mask lines, and I can just see how that looks. Okay, yeah, looks looking pretty good, I think. So I want to fix this here. Remember, Control Shift H to view. I'm going to select this one. You can see this one is a different shape, so I'm just gonna drag that like that. Control Shift H. Yeah, see, now it looks like it's coming around. Boom. Boom. So that looks kind of dumb around here. So I think what we'll do is put a keyframe on the mask, because it seems to be cutting off. Maybe drag. Let's see, if I just double click any of the vertices, I can pull it up. Let's see how that looks. That looks kind of wonky, but let's see, maybe if I add a point here, I can like round it out a little bit. And it looks kind of funky, but let's just keep playing around with it until it looks like something. It's only going to be on for a frame, so it's not a huge deal if it looks kind of funny. We just want to give the impression that it's creating a realistic, somewhat realistic turn. We just don't want it to be distracting is really the main point. So let's give this a watch, see how it looks. I'm going to just turn off the music because I feel like that's annoying. If I press this little button here, I can turn off the audio preview. Okay, so I'm gonna press B to get the beginning of my timeline here. And I already have the end of my timeline set. So I'm just gonna press Shift Spacebar. See how it looks. I mean, it's not, I don't know. It's not like the most obvious 3D turn, to be honest. I think that this is something I'm still learning, and that's why I'm doing this series, is I'm trying to improve my skill set, and I feel like the only way to really do that is to try. And, you know, if you end up failing at it, then it's fine. It just takes a lot of practice. That's the whole point. Okay. Let's see how it looks again. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna spend like way too much time on this. I think it's okay for just practice's sake. Boom. It is, I don't know, I feel like maybe this part should be coming around a little bit better. So maybe what I'll do is here, let's go in here. Let's see, it would be covered by the collar slightly, I guess. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna make sure the mask is entirely gone at this point. Should just drag it up there. It'll just stay there. And I think, yeah, you know what? I don't know why it's being cut off here slightly. I think that might be because of the bend it effect. So I might want to add a, if I press Control Spacebar, if you have the FX console from Video Copilot, it's really useful for applying effects quickly. If I add Grow Bounds, let's see if that fixes that. Might have to put it under the CC Bended effect. No, it didn't do it. So I think I have to drag the endpoint. So there's a start point and an end point. I think if I drag the endpoint, yeah, there we go. That fixed it. Boom. Somewhat. There we go. Yeah. I don't hate it. It's okay. Boom. Okay. Good. Let's see now. I'm going to, I think the next thing I'll do is add the arms. So that's going to be interesting because we have, one arm's going to be behind the body and then come forward and then go in front of the body because he's turning from side view to front, even though the legs and the feet are facing the same way. So I think if I go back to my character in Illustrator, here's the arms. I'm gonna have to build this with something like rubber hose or limber or any rigging tool. But I think for now what I might do is just do a placeholder arm just to test it out. And I have this plugin called Overlord. It's $45, very worth getting. You can very rapidly push your Illustrator art to After Effects, So I'm just going to group that together to make sure, let's see, make sure this is unchecked. It says split shapes to layers. So if it's unchecked, it'll just come in as one group. If it's checked, it'll split all these little pieces up, even if it's grouped. So I'll press this, push to AE, and it'll bring the arm into After Effects, and I don't even know where it is. It's just somewhere, but you can see layer 1, that's the arm. If I press Control Home, let's see. So it's right there. If I press Control Home, oh no, see, the anchor point is already in the center. But let's see, if I center the anchor point and then press Control Home, it'll bring it right into the center. So it's really useful if you have art and it's just missing somewhere. Okay, so I'm going to put the anchor point by I pressed Y and I just dragged the anchor point up into this corner here, and I'm just going to bring the arm somewhere to where it would be, make the size relatively what it should be. I'll just call this left arm place holder. Always name your layers, as Ben Marriott says. So I'm going to attach it to the torso, and I'm going to bring it behind the torso. And look at that, it already kind of works. It's kind of nice. So let's see, I'm going to bring up the position, because by the time, let's pull up the torso keyframe so you can kind of get a feel for when it turns properly. So about here is when the arm would be where it's at right now. If I go like this, go back to the first keyframe, I could drag it in. Again, this is just a placeholder, so it's not going to look totally accurate. Oh, looks like I have one viewer. Cool. But if I drag the arm back behind here and then bring it forward, it'll look like the arm is coming out from behind, so it kind of gives that fake 3D look. And I think if I look at let's see, so this shirt is what's driving the fake 3D. So in fact, if I just drag this here and then have it match up. Also, if I highlight these keyframes, you can see that it starts pretty fast and then eases in. So if I press F9, go into the curves, and then just press plus, I can just make it ease in like that, make it look similar. And it looks like, I might have dragged it back a little too far, so it might be something like that where it would start. Let's see now. Let's just preview this. I'm going to just minus to minimize the timeline a little bit. And I'm just going to, yeah, that looks pretty good. I gotta say, that looks 3D. That's pretty nice. Okay, cool. Let's see if we can put another arm in there. Yeah, that looks decently 3D, I gotta admit. I'm actually pretty proud of that. I'm not super familiar with doing the fake 3D, so I feel pretty proud of myself for this one. I might do, instead of just bringing in another arm, I might just duplicate this arm since it's just a placeholder, and I'll just call it right arm placeholder because we always name our layers. And I think I'll press U to show the keyframes. I'll just delete the keyframes for now. It's already attached to the torso. It would go in front of the torso, so here's the torso shirt, and I think I will just right-click, transform, flip horizontal, and bring it here. Let's see. don't want it to cover the shirt like that. Maybe, I wonder if I put it behind it, if that might help. Not really. No. Okay, so put the arm right there for now. Looks like it's also behind the leg. So maybe it would just go a little bit higher right there. There we go. Okay, good. So I'm going to, so it's already attached, as you can see. And again, the arm would be closer to the front at this point. So we know that it ends at this point, right? So I'm going to drag it closer, because here it would be like when it's turned to the side like this, it would be like that. And I actually have a plugin, rather than just try to like make the graph look the same as the other one. I actually have a plugin called Ease Copy. It's super useful for animators, auto saving. I'm going to copy it, which will it'll copy this sort of shape, this graph shape. And if I highlight these, I think if I keep them highlighted, it should be able to, no, I have to be in this mode. If I highlight these and I press ease, you can see that it copied it exactly. So now we have the other arm. Right now, as you can see, it's like turned weird. And this is a pretty big guy, so, you know, he might have his arms swinging a bit as they come in, carrying his weight around. So we can try, this is my first stream, by the way, so I apologize if anything's messed up. I figured I would just document this process of animating these characters, because I'm trying to get better at character animation. Okay. Right, so just to see what it looks like, I'm actually going to add just a little bit of animation to this. I'm going to press Shift and hold R, bring up the rotation of this arm. Now, when an object moves in a direction, the weight of the object will actually lag behind the center of gravity. So what that means is the shoulder will move first, obviously, but the rest of the arm will lag behind. So if I hold down, let's just really exaggerate this, you'll see that the arm is moving in this direction, in the left to right direction. So so the way that the rotation would animate, it wouldn't follow exactly. It would actually lag behind first. So we'll make it first, have it here, this will be its starting position, and then as it animates, it'll sort of turn like this and then go into this position here. So if I just play that back, it's hard to see because half of his body is covered, and also I didn't ease anything. I'm just going to press F9 to just let it ease. But you can see it kind of, it just gives it a little bit more life. You also, you know, it's also difficult because the other arm is not following the same sort of pattern. So if I press Shift R, and again, let's say that this is the final position, the arm starts back this way because the arm is going from right to left. I'm going to have the rotation be the opposite direction, and then it's going to sort of come out like this, and then I'll press and then because it starts with the body sort of going this way, the arm would actually probably swing out more like this way, and then come back, and then maybe settle somewhere like here. So let's see how that looks. Again, this character animation, at least in my experience so far, is all about just testing it out and seeing what looks good. You know, there's some rules that you can play with, but it's really about, you know, trying it out, seeing if it looks natural, seeing if you like it. If you don't like it, you can, you know, start over, and it's not a big deal. That's just part of the process of practicing. Now, I will say it does look a little funny, like the arms they do feel off. I do think that it's because it's not the most natural arm position. Like, I feel like maybe the arm would start, like this arm might actually start, this arm would probably start the other way. So I'm just gonna pull up the scale, and I'm actually going to right click and toggle hold keyframe. I'm just going to uncheck this link button, and I'm going to highlight the X number. See, it's like such a crazy number, but I'm just going to put a negative in front of it, and you can see it's kind of weird, but let's see, maybe I adjust the boom. Kind of looks like it should be turning. It's not really doing a great turn. But let's see again. Again, it's all about just watching and seeing. Okay, yeah, it looks terrible. And that's okay. That's okay. Okay, I think for now, since that looked bad, I'll just go back to what it was before. Maybe I'll just exaggerate this again. So I think that depending on which rigging tool I use, which I might just go with rubber hose again on this one for the arms. But let's see, I'm going to actually, I'm just going to save this, and when I'm making an animation like this and I'm about to make a major change, so like I'm actually going to add the arms now, I like to just duplicate the main comp, and that way I can just go back if I don't like it, and then I can always, you know, adjust it later. The cool thing is when you duplicate the main comp and you just double click it and you go into it, you're at the exact same point, so it's like really nothing changes. It's very useful, I think, for iterating. I just want to show where things are at. We have that coal, the fireman gets a load of coal, food, and then here's the fireman coming into the shot. Now his arms look a little silly, so that's what we're going to fix right now. And also, if I hold if I press the tilde key, you can see how many layers there are. It's actually not that bad. Press minus to sort of zoom out. It's not that bad because I tend to, once I wrap up an animation, I'll highlight the section, I'll highlight the layers like that I'm working on, and I'll just pre-comp it. And I just try to animate in a way where if I pre-comp it, it's not parented to something else. Like I try to keep everything self-contained so that, you know, it can all, it'll all be in the pre-comp and shorten the main comp. Just to give like an example of that, I have this character earlier on in the video, you know, here, Stargate, and it's the 9th rendition, but if I press B to highlight that section of the timeline, and then I go forward and she gets out at about here, I'll press N to set the end point, and you can see I'll show you the animation first. So first of all, let it just render. I'm also animating in 4K, so it might be a little bit slower than it needs to be. If I was animating in HD, it would be much faster. I have a pretty fast computer. All right, good, let's watch this. So we have our character, she jumps up and she runs out. So originally, when I animated this, no, I think I animated her in a pre-comp alone. So you can see that she's in a pre-comp. If you just look at this bounding box here, you can see that she is in her own composition, and I'm actually just animating the pre-comp to have her go away and jump up and stuff. If I go into her composition, zoom out. This is a very interesting rig because her dress is just a shape layer with rounded corners on, and I just used create nulls from path to control the animation of the dress. I like to, when I'm animating a character, I feel like not every character is the same, so not every rigging tool works for that character. You kind of have to know a little bit about each of the rigging tools, and you have to know what their limitations are, what their benefits are. And I think for her, I ended up just using rubber hose for the legs, and I think I used limber for the arms, because I find that rubber hose is sometimes easier if I don't want to have too much control over like where the middle, like the elbow is. So you can see, you can just tell by the endpoints that they're different tools. Anyway, let's go back to main comp 11, which is the composition we're now working in. We'll go forward. So for the legs of this guy, I did use rubber hose because I feel like with legs, at least for this shot, I didn't need anything too much control over it. So what I'm going to do here is sort of go in. I'll start with this left arm. And what I'm going to actually do is I'll just use what we have, but I'm going to, first of all, I'm just going to delete all these keyframes because I just don't really need them right now. I'm going to unparent this. So what I'm doing is I clicked here, just none. There might be an easier way to do that. I'm not sure. I'm going to go into the contents, and you can see all of these groups here. This is what's so amazing about Overlord, is when I push everything over to After Effects, it just puts each of the items into its own group. And I'm just going to group those all together. And if I just press Control G, it groups all of those. I'm going to press Enter, and I'm just going to write hand. So now the hand is its own group. And rather than delete this, because I don't know, I might want it later, I'm just going to turn the visibility off. But you can see if I'm using just the hand, which is what we have now, I can press Y, and I'm going to grab the anchor point, and I'm going to drag it over here. So this next, like how I'm going to animate the arm, I'm only going to live stream for a little bit here because I actually have a job. So what I'm going to do for the, I'm just going to call this left hand placeholder because I might actually want to replace the hand. And I think for this arm, I'll use limber because you have more control on the length of the forearm and the arm. And by adjusting the length of either of those, you can sort of create a fake 3D look. And I like that. It gives you a lot of control. Sorry, just a second. All right, so let's see now. I'm going to, so this is limber. I have arm already selected. It's on taper, which I think is fine, even though I'm probably not going to have any taper to this. And I'll just press new, and it brings up this little, this is the last thing I named an arm. It was front, so just F-arm, but this is actually gonna be the back arm. So I'm just gonna make it back, B arm. And you know, it pulls in the layers. You kind of have to, it's a little funny, so you have to, let's see, I guess the back arm would be behind the torso. I'll just put it in front of the left hand for now. Sorry, just a sec. I'm live streaming, so I can't edit this later, I don't think. Okay. I'm gonna place the shoulder here. So here's what I mean. It's actually really interesting. So this is, you know, just like rubber hose. Sorry, one sec. You can see, these are your options in the wrist. So if I go to the shape, you can see like the upper length. If I extend this out, it creates this. But if I extend the lower length, you can see it does the same thing. So what does that mean? That means that I find this plugin a little bit more difficult to use than rubber hose, but let's just make the arm look as best as we can, like it did when it had the arm on, when I had this on. So we're gonna make it look like this, but we're gonna use limber to create that effect. So if I increase the lower length, first of all, I think it's facing the wrong direction. So if I go into dynamics and I make this -100, it'll do that. And let's see, if I extend that out, you can see that it kind of creates that effect. And we're starting to get there. Obviously the size is completely wrong, the colors are wrong, but that's easy enough to change. So bring this here. Why don't we actually turn this on to be able to see what that looks like? Oh yeah, okay, good. So we can kind of see better like how long each of these parts of the limbs need to be. I would say this can be shorter. This can be a bit shorter. Let's make the, I believe if you scale this up, this is the weird thing about limber that I don't really like, is that you have to link this to like a null, and make the starts, let's see, let's make the start size like that. Now it feels a little too long. So make the start size, and the size will be equal. So if I just, honestly, if I just do this just to see like how big the size needs to be, oops, start size. Okay. And then I can drag that shoulder back. And since it's all going to be equal, I can just copy this number, middle size, and end size, and ourselves an arm. Looks like it might even be a little short, maybe. Yeah, you can see it's a little bit short. That's actually okay. I'm just gonna try to line this up as best as I possibly can. Just zoom in here. And I'm gonna shorten this, and then I'm going to wonder. You know what I might do just to simplify it? Actually, no, because I might want to change these sizes later. I'm going to increase the end size. There we go. I'm just gonna press left arrow. Oops. Make sure it's highlighted. Press left arrow to get this into a better position. And I'm going to, now I'll duplicate this and then have these be the same size. Okay, good. Yeah, there we go. We got an arm. Okay, now I will change the colors. No, it's very simple to do. And I will put the arm, where is this arm? I don't remember where I put it. Here's the arm. Oh, I should put it below the hand. And then I'll place the hand. I'll attach the hand to the wrist. Yep, there we go. And then I'll attach the arm shoulder to the torso. So it's number 20. And then I think what I'll do is also attach this to the torso for now, again, so we can just kind of, why did that make the hand look really small? See, this is what I'm talking about with Limber, is it just has some weird sort of properties that I'm not entirely familiar with, where for some reason if you parent it to something, it changes the size of the endpoint. I don't know why, and I can't really increase it. But maybe what I might have to do is attach it to a null. So if I just click this, it attaches to a new null, and I'll call this back arm wrist, and then attach this to the torso. No, that works. That's weird. Oh, duh, I forgot that I forgot that I left this arm on. Let's go back to, where is the hand? Things get real messy. So let's go into the contents. This is going to be arm. I'll just turn it off. Okay, so we have this arm now, and that's a working arm. Got autosave going. I know this is painfully slow to watch, but this is how character animation works. So first of all, let's see, maybe it'll start off, I want to see if I start this with the arm facing the other direction, which, by the way, if you turn on rotate end to 100%, that's what controls the rotation of the hand. If you have that all the way down, which for some reason is the norm for Limber, if you try to, if you move the arm, it doesn't auto rotate the hand. But I'll put it up for now, just to 100%, and I'll make it counterclockwise, and I'll set a keyframe for the clockwise, and then I'll have it, by the time he lands, I'll have it go negative. Let's see how that looks. And then I'll probably, if I, I'm gonna match the speed of the shirt moving, and I'll highlight these and just press ease. I think it was already the same. Yeah, it was. So I'm realizing that the arm is behind, and it needs to kind of come in front, I feel like. So I don't know if this is possible, but I'm going to try it anyway. Where I'm going to take the left hand, and the arm. And I'm going to press Control Shift D, and I'm going to put this above here now. And I want to see if it still works. Like if can I control this? And yeah. So that's kind of cool, is that you can split the arm layer and it still works. That's like pretty neat. The problem is when we do that is you get a lot more of the arm in front than you want. So just to show that, put it in front of you can see that now this is, well, I guess it doesn't actually need to be, no, it still does it. So you can see that you can see the curve here, which is a little frustrating. So how to resolve that? We'll find out. First of all, let's just see if we can get if the turn like looks good. Just drag the end point and the beginning point and the end point here. Press Shift Space Bar, and then press tilde key to make it full screen. I mean, I don't hate that. It does look like a legit turn, which is kind of cool. But I don't like I only want the forearm coming out from behind. So I think what I'll do, I'm trying to see how this would work. The ideal situation for this would be that the rig still works, but the front of the arm is in front, the forearm is in the front, but then the main part of the arm, the bicep, tricep area, shoulder area, would be behind, right? So I'm curious if I can extend this out so it's still behind, but then get rid of this forearm piece somehow. I wonder if I can do that by going into the arm itself, going into the limb, and let's see, this would be the upper part of the arm. So what I would do is go in here, go into the lower group, highlight it, and where does the break happen? The break happens here. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to press a keyframe on the opacity for just the lower group, and I'm going to hold Alt and left arrow to drag it over here, and then just turn it off. And I think here, because this is a new arm, I actually don't even need to have the upper group on. It should work. Hey, it's kind of cool. It worked. Now, I feel like if he's turning his body super rapidly like that, his arm would swing out a bit. So I'm just gonna play that, get an idea of what that looks like. And I think that his arm would, let's control his hand here. It's gonna be like this, maybe start here. And since I believe, what would be better? Would it be better to animate this, or is it better to animate this? I don't know. I think I'll just animate the null. I don't think it makes too much of a difference, to be honest. So I think what I'll do is I'll just drag this keyframe over because we know it's going to be there eventually. I'll drag this down, drag this here. When it comes around, the arm might swing out like this. And if I press G, it'll pull up my pen tool, and if I press Shift, I can just control each of these handles here. And it's kind of weird. Sometimes if you hold Shift, you can control one, and then for some reason it does this. I don't know. If I press Alt, is it Alt, control? If I press control, then I can actually handle one handle at a time. So I think that, and then it doesn't do it. So I don't know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. I think that the arm would, the motion path would be something like this. Whoops. So if I press control, this is what's always so frustrating. Press Alt. See, now it's the Alt button that I have to hold. And then this one doesn't require any button holding. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ease these. So F9. And I'm going to, let's take a look at this. Zoom into here. So the arm is going to come out rapidly. It's going to sort of hang up here and then come back down. So I think that the shape would be, it starts fast, slows, and then comes back down. But I think that it should be back down about here. I feel like it might even be back down by this point. But I'm going to drag this over here. And I think what I'll do, you can see that the hand needs to be in front of the leg. It's this hand now, so we can actually just drag it in front of the leg like this. And then, look at that. It comes from around. Let's watch that, see how that looks. Again, you just have to, oh, that looks way too fast. No, it's terrible. That would slow down a lot. So let's see, what we're going to do is just highlight these keyframes, hold down Alt, and drag it out, because it would kind of lag behind. Like the shoulder would come up, but it would still lag behind. Seems to still be going pretty fast, to be honest. I start to make sound effects when I'm looking at motion. This isn't looking quite, let's see. I'm just gonna press the B button to the B button to do that. Let's see. So it comes around. Maybe it feels weird because it needs to come back around this way. You can see because of the audio bezier of the handles that it looks kind of funky. So if I hold down Shift, it'll come back forward. And then this swing, it should slow down at the end point, so you can kind of see the way it's looking right now. It's a little too fast. And then maybe it would settle back to about here. Let's take a look at that. I mean, the idea is there, it's just not executed very well, because I feel it should be a bit slower. But that might just because everything else is moving so fast. But I wonder what would happen if I just highlight these and drag it out super far. Like, does that look super weird? Yeah, it does. What if I do one of these numbers? Again, character animation is all about just trying things out, seeing how it looks. At least in my experience. I am a professional, but I'm still learning. I'm always learning. For some reason this arm is just like turning off. Let's that actually doesn't look terrible. I feel like because the shoulder is coming out at the right speed, that feels right. So yeah, that looks pretty cool. Like the elbow is leading the action here, so it's coming out. I actually want to try. So I want to try something. So right now we have inverted kinematics on, so IK, which means that if I move this, the forearm and the arm will move. But if I turn off IK and put on FK, which is forward kinematics, it means that the rotation of it just won't be automatic. You'll see what I mean if I turn that off. So this is where I'm not super familiar with Limber, so I don't know necessarily how to make it so this is just the same, but I think that there actually is a way. But just to show you what forward kinematics does, you can see that immediately the arm just flops out, right? But if I control the upper FK, I can do that and then do that. And let's see if that, see what it ends up doing is it makes it so you kind of have to just do everything again, which isn't really annoying. So I think I'll just turn that off and see how I can animate what am I trying to even do, to be honest? What I want is I want the arm extended out. So I feel like at this point it's fine where it is, but then I feel like by here it should be, the arm should be like sort of lagging behind, so it should be a little bit up. So I think what I'll do, I'll make a new keyframe and I'll just drag it out. So the arm is like that. I'll just press Control and press the keyframe so it's now a linear keyframe, and it'll kind of pop, I guess. And I'm just going to, so here's the current track. I'm gonna have it swing further like this. Like that it just pops. I want it to feel natural, so maybe I'll delete that and actually just have it swing out like that. Now it doesn't have any bend, and I don't want that either. Oops, autosave. So I'm gonna undo that and see how we can kind of get the best of both worlds here. Okay, I'm gonna drag this here. Let's just play it and see how it looks. Honestly, that looks pretty realistic. That looks pretty good. What I was trying to do, just to communicate my thought here, is the hand, like the arm would come down first, and then the hand would lag behind just a little bit, which is what I'm trying to, and this little point here. So I want to see, let's see now. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And it looks like it's swinging around. It's kind of cool. Okay, so next, before I log off here, because I think about an hour is, maybe an hour per day is what I can put in on this. I'm going to have the shoulder, I'm going to animate the shoulder next. So we have our shoulder here. And I'm going to press the position, and we know that about here is when the shoulder should be out, and then here the shoulder would be in like this. So I think I still have the same ease copied, so I'll just press ease. Yeah, and now I'll play that, and we got somewhat of an arm done. Not bad. I think that's pretty good. Good, so I think that's all I'll do on this for now. But I'm pretty happy with that. I do think that, you know, just to show you what I want to work on next, I'm going to animate the hand and the fingers. But I think that I'm going to press P and Shift R. This is the second hand, so this one it cuts to be in front. But I think I'm just going to parent it to the other hand and then just animate the other hand. So if I press the tilde key, I go full screen with this panel. And I'm going to parent it to this left hand. Let's see if that actually ruins anything. It didn't seem to ruin anything. So I'm going to, just before I get off, just to show what I intend on doing. Again, the motion of the hand, I was about to point to my screen. The motion of the hand is coming up. So the rotation would be like this. It would be coming back because it would be swinging after the fact, right? And then here, it would swing out like this. And then come back up like this. And then it doesn't fall exactly when the arm hits, so it still has it has a little bit of its own independent motion, and it would be all after the fact, or as secondary action. So I think that's all. This looks weird because it starts off, should start like this. Yeah, you can also see that it's kind of snappy right now, but that's only because it has linear keyframes applied. So if I just put on the excuse me, if I just put on the Easy Ease and then play that, I mean, it's not great, but it's not that bad. It's kind of funny. It needs work. I think maybe this is too much. Excuse me. Always cough into your elbow. All right. So this might be a little bit too flimsy. It has this weird effect. But we'll correct that. It's got a little too much of a swing, like he's slapping something. But that's sort of the idea, is secondary action like follows a main motion. I'm just gonna we're gonna look at this full screen practically. And so we can get a really good look at the animation here. But yeah, you can kind of see where this is headed. I'm pretty happy with this overall. I feel like, you know, walking into the scene is one thing, but I feel like maybe he has to interact with this scene a little bit. Essentially, so the fireman gets a load of coal, right? We don't want it to be on this scene for too long. There's actually, the next line is, and either shovels it into the engine, your body's metabolism, or shovels it into the tender, your fat reserves. And I want those, I'll show you. This is what I've animated so far. Actually, your body is like a steam engine. I've animated that. I feel like that's complete, so I highlighted it. The fireman gets a load of coal, which is the next part I'm animating, and either shovels it into the engine, your body's metabolism. And I can try to make it so he comes into the scene and immediately starts shoveling, but I think that what I will do is make that its own clip. Even though I would love to be an amazing animator who can just rapidly have this character pull out a shovel and shovel this coal. That might be too much. It might be a bit out of my current ability, though I do think that it's not impossible, it's just a little tough. So I think that'll be a new scene, this scene, and either shovels it into the engine. And I'll have to design an engine, and you know, this is where I'm designing my various characters. All right. So yeah, just to give this one last little view before I end off here. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'll have to finish animating the arm next time, and then do the other arm, and then I gotta add the head, and I think the head is probably going to be within its own pre-comp, and I will just, it's going to be interesting because some of the head is going to be, some of the head I think will be behind the body, so I'll have to figure out how to, if it's going to be within its own pre-comp, have part of the head in its own pre-comp behind the body and part of the head in its own pre-comp in front of the body, and that'll be the challenge for next time. But I think for now, we got somewhat of an arm swing going. It's a little funny. It looks like he's just sort of slapping something around, but I think next time I'll also make it so the fingers are animated, and then also maybe go from being in a fist to opening up. I don't know. Little details like that really add a lot of life to stuff like this. So I'll just save this for now. And let's see. I guess I'll end the stream on YouTube. So to the 2 people who watched for an average length of 55 seconds, I appreciate it. And I will see you next time.